I call the member for Ryde.
Thank you, Speaker. Infrastructure delayed is housing denied, and the latest revelation regarding the 2040 blowout of the Sydney Metro extension timeline will go down as one of the greatest failures in tackling the complex puzzle of housing supply and affordability. It is yet another example of poor planning, misplaced priorities, and a government that cannot be trusted to deliver for the people of New South Wales. For the people of Ryde, this delay is not just an inconvenience, but a failure that will leave our community stuck in worsening congestion with no relief in sight. The government has made a habit of grand announcements with no substance behind them, and nowhere is this clearer than in their approach to Sydney Metro. The Minns government has decided that vital metro extensions, the projects connecting communities, supporting growth, and providing much needed public transport relief, can wait. There is no business case, no funding strategy, and no firm commitments, just another deferral. Meanwhile, the housing crisis deepens, congestion worsens, and the people of this state are left wondering whether anything this government promises will ever actually be delivered. There is no credible plan to fund these extensions. That much is clear. After inheriting a metro system that was well underway, the government has since spent the last year walking backwards, making excuse after excuse.
Member, I will stop the clock. Member for Ryde, I do have to hear the point of order.
Yeah,
yes, Member for Coogee.
This is a private member's statement. I would ask that the member bring this back to his electorate, please.
Yes, to the point of order.
Speaker, I think it was in the second line I referenced the
I heard
inconvenience to the electorate, and I'm providing some context to that.
Yes, I rule on the point of order that I did hear the member for Ryde relate to his electorate. Thank you. Resume the clock.
Thank you, Speaker. As I was saying, after inheriting a metro system that was well underway, the government since spent the past year walking backwards, making excuse after excuse, and now effectively abandoning the long-term vision for a truly connected Sydney. The reality is that metro expansion is essential. Without it, our city and my electorate will grind to a halt. And yet, instead of ensuring these projects proceed promptly, the government has kicked them into the long grass. This is not just a matter of transport policy. It is an economic issue, a productivity issue, and a significant failing of public administration. The government has no clear answer on how it will deliver the Metro West extension beyond Parramatta or the Metro to the Western Sydney Airport. They've pushed the timeline out so far that they hope people will just forget and stop asking questions. Well, we won't stop asking. The deferral lays bare the hypocrisy of the government's so-called housing strategy. The government claims it is committed to housing density, to transport-oriented development, to unlocking housing supply, and yet there is no way, and yet the only way to make such a plan viable is through investment in public transport infrastructure. Without metro extensions, where will this capacity come from? How can they justify cramming tens of thousands of new residents into areas that are already suffering from congestion and inadequate transport links? This housing strategy cannot work without metro investment, and my electorate is an example of this on display. The government is trying to play a game of smoke and mirrors, promising growth while simultaneously pulling the rug out from under the very infrastructure that would allow for that growth to be sustainable. For the people of Ryde, the consequences of this delay are dire. Ryde is already home to a growing population, and without significant transport investment, the daily commute for thousands of residents will only get worse. The extension of the Sydney Metro was meant to provide relief, reduce reliance on already overcapacity roads, and offer a fast, reliable alternative to sitting in endless traffic. But instead of providing certainty, the government has given Ryde residents more uncertainty, more congestion, and more frustration. The decision to delay these projects is not happening in a vacuum. It is part of a broader pattern of financial mismanagement and poor priorities. We've seen billions of dollars squandered on bloated government spending, on projects that do not deliver, and on patchwork solutions that fail to address the long-term needs of the state. The truth is that the government is making deliberate choices. They have chosen not to prioritise transport infrastructure that would benefit millions of people. They've chosen not to invest in the future-proofed Sydney. Instead, they've decided to focus on short-term fixes and political convenience. Speaker, people in this state are tired of delays, tired of excuses, and tired of government that do not deliver on their promises. The Sydney Metro expansion was meant to be a legacy project, one that would transform the way that people move across our city. Now it is yet another casualty of a government that is incapable of seeing beyond the next electoral cycle. This is a failure of vision, a failure of governance, and a failure of leadership. The people of New South Wales, and particularly the people of Ryde, deserve much better. They deserve a government that does not make promises that they have no intention of keeping, and I call on this House and this Parliament to deliver Sydney Metro.
Call the